Welcome to the Immigrant in Law channel. Today we will talk about how different European Union countries treat immigrants. This is a complex emotional topic that is often fraught with stereotypes. In this video, I will share my observations based on my work with clients who have moved to different EU countries, as well as my experience communicating with local integration specialists, lawyers, and consultants. We will not discuss political slogans, only the real everyday nuances that people face after moving. Germany has traditionally been one of the most popular destinations for relocation, and this is clearly evident in the way migration processes are organized here. The German system is built around the principles of order, transparency, and consistency. Government agencies operate according to clear instructions, and newcomers are expected to show the same respect for established procedures. Most stages, from registering at your place of residence to participating in integration courses, require careful adherence to deadlines, application forms, and lists of documents. And one consistent observation is that the more carefully a person follows these rules, the faster their interaction with government agencies becomes predictable and smooth. Germany really values precision, but in return offers a clear system where each step can be studied in advance and prepared for. Despite their reputation for strict bureaucracy, employees at many agencies try to explain the procedure, advise on what documents are required, and point out any shortcomings if something needs to be corrected. The only important thing is to provide the correct set of documents. The system rarely makes exceptions, but when all the rules are followed, it works smoothly and without unnecessary delays. A separate aspect is the everyday attitude of society. Germany is multi-layered, and the differences between regions are noticeable. In large cities such as Berlin, Hamburg, or Munich, people have long been accustomed to an international environment. Here, there are mixed communities, multilingual neighborhoods, and the presence of foreign specialists does not surprise anyone. In such cities, adaptation is faster because the environment itself encourages communication and familiarity with a new culture. In smaller towns, the atmosphere is different. People there may be more reserved in everyday communication, acting more cautiously and discreetly. This is not a negative trait. Rather, it is a cultural habit of respecting personal space. At the same time, politeness, willingness to help, and attention to rules remain unchanged. If a person shows respect for local norms, they quickly become part of the small community. Germany is a country where a lot of things are based on clear logic. Every step of integration has its own order, every action has its own form, and every process has its own goal. That's why the attitude towards immigrants here isn't based on emotions, but on following the rules. If a person comes with a willingness to work within this structure, they are treated calmly, respectfully, and consistently. In return, they receive one of Germany's main advantages: stability and clarity in every aspect of life. In France, immigrants encounter an interesting balance between openness and principle. It is a country with a strong cultural identity, and respect for personal freedom is truly one of its core values. French society often welcomes people from other countries, but at the same time expects newcomers to respect the basic elements of the local model: the language, the secular nature of the state, and the social rules that are important to everyday life in France. The most important feature of the French approach is the significance of language. Even at the everyday level, French is seen not just as a means of communication, but as part of the national culture. When a person at least tries to communicate in French, the attitude of local residents changes noticeably towards greater openness and willingness to engage in dialogue. This is not a formality. It really facilitates integration and helps to build trusting communication. When it comes to employment, French employers are quite positive about professionals with international experience. In some sectors, especially IT, engineering, medicine, design, and hospitality, foreign workers are seen as a valuable addition to the team. However, even in a professional environment, language skills play a crucial role. The French prefer to work in an atmosphere where communication is free and respectful. In everyday life, French people tend to show genuine interest in people from other countries. Many enjoy discussing culture, traditions, travel, and history. At the same time, communication is usually respectful and unobtrusive, without any desire to impose one's opinion. French society values cultural exchange but does so in a calm and natural way. It is important to note that the level of openness can also depend on the region. Paris and Lyon are large cities with a developed international environment, universities, international companies, and a large number of foreigners. Here, diversity is perceived as part of city life. In smaller towns and the provinces, the pace of life is slower, and people may be more traditional in their communication, but politeness and respect for privacy remain unchanged. France combines two important qualities: respect for its own cultural foundations, and a willingness to engage in dialogue with those who come with an interest, a desire to understand the country, and a desire to integrate. When immigrants take these characteristics into account, adaptation is more harmonious, and communication is easier and warmer. Spain is traditionally perceived as a sunny, relaxed, and very hospitable country, and this impression largely corresponds to reality. Spaniards are indeed sociable, open, and easily strike up conversations even with strangers. In everyday life, they value a calm pace, warm communication, and comfort. New neighbors and colleagues are usually willing to offer advice, tell you where to find the necessary institutions, or simply engage in a short, friendly conversation. But when it comes to immigration procedures, Spain's character takes on different traits. Despite its general friendliness, the country has fairly strict requirements for paperwork. For most bureaucratic processes, there is a precisely defined procedure, a set of required documents, application forms, deadlines, and requirements for translation or confirmation. Spanish authorities may be patient and friendly, but if a document does not meet the formal requirements, the process will be stopped until corrections are made. At the same time, immigration office staff often try to explain the procedure. Even if a person speaks basic Spanish, they usually help them understand, give clear instructions, and explain the steps to be taken. The only important thing is to follow the instructions carefully. Spain is very respectful of personal communication, but when it comes to official procedures, it prefers precision and accuracy. Another feature is the differences between regions. Barcelona, Valencia, and Malaga are cities with a rapidly developing international environment, a large number of students, entrepreneurs, and remote specialists. Here, the general attitude towards newcomers is more flexible and modern. In smaller cities and in the interior of the country, processes may be more measured, and the time required to review applications may be slightly longer than in large centers. However, the general principle remains the same throughout the country. Documents must meet the established requirements. Spain combines friendliness and structure. At the level of everyday communication, it is easy to feel comfortable here, and the emotional warmth of the locals helps you adapt more quickly. At the same time, official processes require precision, and this is the key to a smooth and successful passage through all stages of migration. When a person is ready to follow the rules and pay close attention to the paperwork, Spain responds with clarity of procedure and a correct attitude. Italy is a country where attitudes toward immigrants can vary greatly depending on the region. It is a country with very distinct cultural characteristics, and the northern and southern parts of the country sometimes resemble two different worlds. In the north, in Milan, Turin, and Verona, life is more strictly organized, businesslike, and rational. There, punctuality and a more formal approach to work and documents are often expected. In the south, in Naples, Bari, Calabria, society demonstrates a much more emotional style of communication, ease of establishing contact, and a warm attitude towards newcomers. Despite these differences, Italy has one thing in common. In most cases, people are friendly and open towards immigrants. Italians are inclined to help and willingly give advice on everyday matters. This can apply to a wide variety of issues: where to open a bank account, how to register with the local municipality, which area is best to move to, how the school or healthcare system works. There is a highly developed culture of personal communication here, and many issues are indeed resolved more quickly if a person is not afraid to ask questions and engage in dialogue. However, it is important to remember that administrative processes in Italy can be more time-consuming than in a number of other European countries. Completing paperwork, obtaining confirmations, and making appointments can sometimes require patience. Queues can be long, and deadlines are less strict and less predictable. This is not due to attitudes towards newcomers, but to the peculiarities of government agencies, where the workload sometimes exceeds the speed at which applications can be processed. On the other hand, in terms of human interaction, Italy remains one of the warmest countries in Europe. In many cities, neighborly relations develop quickly. People willingly engage in conversation and show genuine interest in where a person comes from and how they are adapting. For those who value emotional contact and are ready for a more flexible pace of life, Italy becomes a comfortable country where you can feel part of society from the early stages of your move. Thus, Italy is a combination of sincere friendliness and established regional characteristics. In the north, there is more businesslike and structured behavior, while in the south, there is more expression and open communication. But in any region, the attitude towards newcomers largely depends on the person's willingness to show respect, interest, and patience. When these elements are present, Italy responds with warmth, attentiveness, and a willingness to support adaptation. Slovenia is a small but dynamically developing country in Central Europe, where the attitude toward immigrants can be described as calm, balanced, and based on respect for mutual obligations. Here, people value neatness, organization, and a willingness to follow local norms. In recent years, the country has become more international, especially in large cities and university centers, where foreign professionals and students are increasingly common. One of the key factors for successful adaptation in Slovenia is respect for local rules and the desire to speak at least basic Slovenian. Although many residents, especially young people and professionals in international companies, speak English well, knowledge of the local language is seen as a sign of respect. This immediately changes the tone of communication. It is easier for a person to get help, advice, or recommendations, and those around them see that they are striving to become part of society. In the working environment, Slovenia is quite open to foreign specialists, especially in areas such as IT, engineering, medicine, logistics, and tourism. Employers value professionalism, reliability, and independence. At the same time, the atmosphere in teams is usually calm, without excessive formality. Many companies strive to create comfortable conditions for new employees, including those who have come from abroad. On a day-to-day level, Slovenian society can be described as respectful and polite. People rarely show excessive emotion, but they are willing to help with practical matters, explaining how the local healthcare system works, where to register, how schools are organized, or which areas are more convenient to live in. In small towns, communication may be more reserved, but it remains friendly and based on mutual respect. It is important to note that Slovenia is a country with a very high level of urban organization and attention to quality of life. Order, environmental friendliness, neatness, and respect for others are valued here. When newcomers demonstrate a willingness to fit into this model, adaptation is smooth and natural. Over time, many note that the calm pace of life, safety, and accessibility of nature help them feel at home more quickly. Thus, in Slovenia, the key elements of successful integration are respect for local rules, a desire for dialogue, and a willingness to accept the peculiarities of the cultural environment. When these elements are present, the country responds in kind, with a calm attitude, respect, and support in adaptation. Austria is one of those European countries where attitudes toward immigrants are based on a strict culture of respect for personal space and politeness in communication. People here are courteous and polite, but communication usually develops gradually. Austrians are not always ready to immediately switch to informal dialogue, especially when it comes to new acquaintances. But once contact has been established, it becomes calm, stable, and respectful. One of the key features of Austrian society is its attentive attitude toward boundaries. Moderation, predictability, and a lack of unnecessary fuss are valued here. People prefer to keep their distance, respect privacy, and are not inclined to interfere in other people's affairs unnecessarily. For someone who has just moved here, this manner may seem reserved, but over time it becomes clear that this reserve is a sign of respect, not coldness. When it comes to official procedures, Austria adheres to a strict and clearly structured model. Migration processes, registration, obtaining permits, all of this is based on precise rules and formal requirements. However, this strictness is offset by transparency. Almost every step is described in detail, the deadlines are clear, and the sequence of actions rarely causes any doubts. If a person carefully follows the established procedures, the process goes relatively smoothly. When dealing with government agencies, it is important to bear in mind that Austrian bureaucracy is generally predictable. Rules are applied consistently, and exceptions are extremely rare. Having all the necessary documents ready, meeting deadlines, and filling out forms accurately will make the adjustment process much easier. In return, the system offers stability, an absence of chaos, and a clear order. In the workplace, Austrians value professionalism, reliability, and punctuality. Although some fields require a good knowledge of German, the attitude towards foreign specialists is usually correct and based on an objective assessment of their skills. Teams can be calm and structured, but they gradually integrate new employees into the overall work rhythm. In everyday life, it is important to remember another feature of Austria: attention to the quality of the environment. Here, great importance is attached to order in the home, public spaces, and transport. When visitors show respect for these norms, they quickly fit into the local culture and feel comfortable in it. Thus, Austria combines formality and respect. This country may seem reserved at first, but as you adapt, it becomes clear that its approach is based on stability, predictability, and clear rules. For those who value order, a calm pace of life, and respectful treatment, Austria is a very comfortable country for long-term residents.
When it comes to Denmark, Sweden, and Finland, these countries are often perceived as European leaders in terms of quality of life, social protection, and stability. Indeed, the level of state support here is one of the highest. A developed healthcare system, affordable education, transparent social programs, and well-organized municipal services. However, there is also a flip side, quite serious expectations of those who move to these countries. The Nordic countries emphasize the importance of independence and the ability to quickly adapt to established rules. Unnecessary dependence on government structures is not encouraged here. People are expected to be proactive, willing to solve everyday problems on their own, and eager to integrate into society. The most important element is proficiency in the local language. Even though the inhabitants of Denmark, Sweden, and Finland speak excellent English, full integration is impossible without knowledge of Danish, Swedish, or Finnish. Work culture plays a special role in these countries. It is customary here to work in a structured, disciplined manner and within the framework of pre-agreed rules. Teams value honesty, transparency, and respect for working hours, both their own and those of their colleagues. Foreign specialists who demonstrate responsibility, reliability, and a willingness to comply with these norms quickly become part of the team. The attitude towards immigrants in Northern Europe is most often calm, correct, and based on respect. Excessive emotionality is not a characteristic feature of local communication. People in these countries value personal boundaries, do not impose their opinions, and prefer to build relationships gradually. At the same time, the absence of emotion does not mean a lack of kindness. It is simply expressed much more restrainedly than in Southern European countries. Daily life in Denmark, Sweden, and Finland is highly organized. Public transportation runs on schedule, government services follow clear procedures, and the urban environment is well thought out down to the smallest detail. For successful integration, it is important to follow local rules, respect public spaces, and adhere to the environmentally conscious lifestyle that is the norm here. Thus, Northern Europe combines generous social support with a high level of responsibility that is placed on everyone who lives here. Foreigners are expected to be independent, respect local rules, and strive to become part of society. When these expectations are met, interaction with residents becomes smooth, respectful, and comfortable, and integration itself becomes predictable and successful. To sum up, it can be seen that attitudes towards immigrants in European Union countries are shaped not by a single factor, but by a combination of cultural characteristics, historical experience, regional differences, and entrenched social norms. Despite this diversity, almost all countries share one common principle. The more attentive a person is to local rules, language, and everyday traditions, the easier it is to integrate and the more respectful their relationships with those around them will be. All these countries have their own characteristics, but one thing remains the same. Successful adaptation depends on a person's willingness to respect the rules, learn the language, understand cultural nuances, and take initiative. Where these elements are present, immigrants most often receive fair, equal, and respectful treatment, both from government agencies and from local residents. If you are just planning to immigrate to the EU, leave a request for a free consultation with immigrant-in-law lawyers. We will select the optimal relocation strategy for you, prepare all the necessary documents, explain the nuances of the legislation in detail, and answer all your questions. We will analyze your case, your goals, and your situation without templates. Want to learn more or start the process today? Get in touch with us. All contact details are listed in the description below this video. We are here to help you take a confident step towards a new life. Like, subscribe to the channel, and ask your questions in the comments. I will be happy to answer them. Discover a world of opportunities with Immigrant-in-Law.